Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my channel where I talk about my journey to sustainable health and meaningful success. Today I am going to continue my Amway series where I talk about my 2.5 years in an MLM, multi-level marketing company. If you haven't watched my videos previously, I will link them down below so you have some context for this one, but I am just going to get started. Actually, first of all, let me just take a moment to acknowledge where I am right now. I'll just show you. This is all of my stuff pushed out from the walls, preparing for an exterminator to come and spray not our apartment, but some apartment on our floor has bed bugs. So I am in the middle of all of my crap. But anyway, I just thought I'd show that to you. So anyway, this is the beginning of the end of my Amway journey. And let me just say that if you watched my previous video, obviously the community there was very cult-like. I was in the Amway business and basically didn't realize it, but I was super isolated and really alone. So a couple stories that I didn't actually mention in my last video. First, as far as dating, I said that I couldn't date anybody in the business as far as my cross line. What I did not tell you was I had to get approval, or I had to let my upline know if I was dating anybody in general. There was one conversation kind of toward the end of my really being engaged in the business that I had been seeing somebody and I broke up with that person, and I told my upline that I had broken up with someone recently, and she responded with, "That should not come as a surprise to me. You need to tell me, like, when you're seeing someone, like, you have to keep me up to date on all matters of your life, not just business. I mean, how can I be a mentor if I don't know what's going on with you?" So I felt kind of supervised in that area of my life as well, even outside of the business. And then within the business, I forgot to tell you one of the biggest stories that was the most humiliating for me. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing to even tell it. But there was one conference where we had this lunch. It was a Saturday, so the conferences are broken up into like morning and evening sessions, and then it's Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, and then Sunday morning. So between the two sessions on Saturday, they normally do a lunch where only people who are invited can come and have lunch with their upline. So I was told, my whole group, my whole upline / downline was told that we were invited to lunch with our upline platinums, Ronald and Raina. And so we all went to this lunch. It was at the hotel, at the restaurant in the hotel. We all show up and there's one seat short. And instead of pulling up an additional chair, Ronald looks at me and says, "Sorry, Sarah, we just don't have enough chairs." And so I had to walk away because obviously I was not included in this lunch anymore. But instead of just like going back to my room or going to a different place to eat lunch, I, chasing the upline, going the extra mile, just chose a different table out of sight, but still within range of the table that they ate at, and ate alone while I overheard them laughing. And they knew that I was there because afterward, another person in my upline actually like came up to me and said, like, "Ronald noticed that you were going the extra mile, and like those things don't go unnoticed, so keep it up, Sarah." It's like so high school. It makes me so angry that I even put up with any of that. But anyway, I was isolated. I was isolated within the business, and I was isolated outside of the business. I felt bad hanging out with outside friends or family, and I was just really lonely. But I had a smile on my face because I was supposed to be positive all the time, right? So then the day that changed everything was a day where one of my best friends from high school left Wisconsin and was moving to Texas. And she invited me to her going away party. And I was really good friends with her right out of college and in that time between dropping out of college and starting Amway. But she was so against the business that we had kind of a falling out because she spoke her mind, and because I saw that I saw it as she was speaking against people that really did me a favor and like have come into my life as some sort of saviors. We just kind of, our relationship really suffered from that. And it kind of got a little bit better, but it never really fully healed. But she invited me to her going away party, and reluctantly I decided to go because I didn't want to be petty. But that ended up being one of the best decisions I've ever made. I don't make really awesome decisions, but that was one that I was proud of. At that going away party, I saw a lot of my old friends that I had such a history with and considered family. And there were certain conversations that really changed my perspective on how I was approaching my life and fulfilling my purpose. Because in this business, I thought, from previous videos I mentioned how they kind of helped me see life outside of a really dark, depressive state, and kind of see that I was still made for something more and made for something greater than I thought I was. And but honestly, like, I thought that fulfilling my purpose was to be in this business and tell other people that they can achieve great things too through this business. But honestly, I just came to see that my purpose is to let people know that they're valued, period. And it doesn't really matter where I do it or how I do it. If people feel more loved when they're around me, then I've succeeded at my purpose. But talking to Casey is the name of the friend that all that history was with. So talking to Casey, she's moving to Texas with her husband, fulfilling this, like going after this really risky kind of path, because, you know, this was an unfamiliar territory for her. And then on top of that, she had been working toward a counseling degree, and she told me that she had decided to change her career path entirely from counseling to cosmetology, because she was following her passion without actually thinking of what anybody else's opinions of her would be. And that was inspiring to me. That shook me, because when she told me that she made this decision because someone had challenged her to think about what she found the most fulfillment doing outside of anyone else's opinion, she was freed to think outside of the box of what she had originally thought was she was meant to do. And that's exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. And then later that night at that party, we're sitting around this campfire talking about just like random things, silly things, whatever. But someone asked this guy, I don't know who this guy is, I think his name's Alan. But someone asked Alan, like, oh, so what are you and your wife doing now that you guys are, like, I don't know, doing this big life change? And his answer was, we're just keeping our options open, and we're waiting for what the Lord has for us next. And I remember distinctly thinking, like, I am not free to follow the Lord's leading. And whether you're spiritual or not, or whether you believe in, you know, a Christian God or whatever, like, I think it's important to reassess your goals and, you know, how you're achieving, you know, your life's purpose in general. But I realized that I wasn't free to do that. I felt trapped within this business. This business was the only thing that I was going to be successful at. And if I didn't do this, I was a failure at life. And ultimately, when talking around that campfire, I realized what I was missing. And I posted on my Instagram and Facebook for people to kind of give their feedback on what true friendship meant to them. And a lot of people, thank you to everybody who responded, because reading your feedback and reading your perspective on what true friendship is, the giving, the loving, the encouraging, being there for one another, standing up for one another, tolerating one another when someone is just being a pain in the butt, but still, like, you love them anyway. I mean, you guys shouted to me that it was unconditional love, and that was exactly what I realized that I was missing. I was missing a community that I could be real with and that I could really, share my life with and laugh together, but also cry together. And I was missing all of that. So that night I went home and I thought about it, and I told my roommate, I was like, I think I need to quit the business. Which was such a foreign thing. Like, that had never escaped my lips, even though for 2 out of the 2.5 years, I was miserable and wanted to quit, like, every day. But I finally said, I think I need to quit. So I reached out to my upline and let them know that I was thinking about taking a break. But they convinced me that since I had already purchased my conference ticket for their spring leadership conference, that I should just go to conference and just give it one more shot. So, because I had already purchased the ticket. And that's how they get you. That's another thing. That's how they get you in a cycle of continuing even when you're discouraged, because they'll have a conference once every quarter, and they'll hype you up during those conferences, and then right after one conference ends, the tickets for the next conference go on sale. So you're purchasing your tickets right away because you're going the extra mile. And so once you get drained and you're discouraged and you want to quit, that's pretty much the time that conference rolls around, and you do the cycle all over again. So she convinced me to go to this one last conference, and I went, and it was worth it for me to go to that conference, because the person who spoke at that conference talked about success outside of monetary gains and outside of possessions and external goals, more just talking about success being living a life of love and joy and peace. And that's really kind of become my life statement, really, because those are unquantifiable things that you can live in every single day, no matter where you're at. And no matter what you believe, no matter if you believe in God or if you believe that certain things are allowed in your religion, I mean, you can still love other people, and you can still find joy and bring joy to other people, and you can still live in peace with everyone. And so that was really enlightening. And it took a lot of stress off of my shoulders, because I thought that I was trying to build my business when really every day could be a success, no matter if I had made a business contact or not. So I came out of that conference really refreshed, and the entire business group, the cult, the Free People of Chicago, came out with an entirely different mindset, and my upline platinum started talking a lot more about, laying up for yourselves treasures in heaven, and focusing our hearts on more, more of our values rather than whatever we achieve externally. And so they had switched everything around. They used to have these conference calls that you had to qualify for by doing 12 meet and greets with people who were coming through the selection process for the business. But then they changed the those calls, and then they called them stress-free success calls, where you could qualify just by doing the steps of the main steps of the business. And basically, if you're disciplined in the habits that they teach you, then you can qualify for these calls. And so the first stress-free success call that was hosted after this conference, everyone was invited. But you had to check with your upline platinum to see if you were actually allowed to go, just in case there were external circumstances that they wanted to control, or if they didn't think that they wanted you in this particular setting. So I called my upline platinum, Raina, and asked her, like, hey, so I hear that this conference call is open to everybody. So I just wanted to confirm that I am allowed to go. And she said, well, I just wanted to double check because I wasn't sure if after the conference you were still thinking about taking a break. And I confirmed with her, like, nope, I'm off the fence. I don't think I'm going to take a break, or I know I'm not going to take a break. I'm all in. Like, stress-free success really has changed this love, joy, and peace definition of success has changed my attitude toward things, and I feel really ready to go and really ready to just live my life according to that. So sign me up, basically. So I was allowed to go to the conference call, but little did I know that within the next couple hours before the conference call, something would happen that would change everything. I hate to leave you guys in suspense, and I'm sorry, I know that this video is already getting long, so I wanted to make a part 2 to finish the story because it escalates, and I need to dedicate enough time to actually tell you the fullness of that story. So subscribe and get notifications when I post new videos, and it'll all be good. Join my community. If you're a hot mess, join me, because this is just the closing of one chapter, and this is a whole journey of a lot of personal transformation. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Okay,